You always want to cut over your haircut, so I can get my haircut out. No, Adams and Davis. Yeah, right. So I just these guys run jacket. Together with the emblem on the back.
Yeah, like local jacket on.
Yeah, there you go. Used to want to go club race in town. So, instead of club, I moved back to the, I guess it's close enough to 7 o'clock. Has everybody that's here had a chance to sign the sign-in list? Okay, welcome to the Monday, November 2nd, 2020, Town of Hamlin Planning Board. At this time, I would like to explain that the exits are out the door and to the right, and out the door and to the left. Okay, there's also an AED on the wall there if needed, and someone can operate it. At this time, I'd like all cell phones or anything else turned off for the duration of the meeting, and make double check right now so that everybody has the ability to state what they need to state under the record. Give a couple minutes to do that. Okay, that being said, Cheryl, would you please call the roll, please?
Linda Giroux. Here. Steve Law.
Yep.
Dave Martin.
Here.
Chris Schleider.
Here.
Mark Ellerstein.
Here.
James Nesbitt.
Here.
Steve Hickman.
Okay, has everybody on the board had a chance to look at the October 5th, 2020 meeting minutes? Any additions, deletions, or corrections to tonight's meeting? Oh, that, excuse me. I'm reading this thing. You should let your people know.
Make a motion for approval for October's minutes.
I'll second it.
Call the roll, please.
Linda Giroux. Yes. Steve Law.
Yeah.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Chris Schleider.
Yes.
Mark Ellerstein.
Yes.
James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Steve Hickman.
Yes.
Okay, tonight we have 2 public hearings. Will you please read proof of publication, Cheryl?
Okay. Public hearing, preliminary and final single lot subdivision for Yu Chao Chen, 6992 Benedict Beach Road. Application of Yu Chao Chen, owner Yu Chao Chen, seeking preliminary and final single lot subdivision approval for property located at 6992 Benedict Beach Road. Tax account number 007.010-01-020. This is in our zoning district, LWRP, floodplain, CHA area, and conservation overlay. Then we have a public hearing for residential site plan approval and a property split for Tom and Wendy Monks, 550 Chase Road. Application of Tom and Wendy Monks, owners Tom and Wendy Monks, seeking a property split of property located at 550 Chase Road. 2 parcels are to be created. Existing tax account number 015.01-001-005.22. This is in the RBL zoning district. Minimum lot size is 2 acres. Also, the application of Tom and Wendy Monks, owners Tom and Wendy Monks, seeking residential site plan approval for a new residential dwelling to be placed on a proposed newly formed lot. Tax account number to be determined. This is in the RBL zoning district. All interested parties will be given the opportunity to be heard at this time.
Okay, very good. With that, I'll open the public hearing for 6992 Benedict Beach Road. Okay, does anybody in the public have anything to comment, concerns? No. Let the record show that there was no public input at this time. At this time, I'll ask staff for comments. And Scott, you're the first one.
Okay. I believe it needs a variance for width and area, which it appears was granted on October 19th, if the plans are correct. Needs construction development permit. And
I don't think they need a conservation corridor development permit, I think, because they're 100 feet away from the lake.
Okay.
And they have their variances.
the only other comment is the approval should be contingent upon the sanitary sewer being installed.
Keith,
Appears fairly straightforward, unlisted under secret. I have nothing further.
Cheryl, we've been babysitting this for a little while.
I don't have any issues, everything's been done to completion that we need. No issues.
Steve?
No issue. Looks good.
No comments, huh? You're good? Steve?
I'm good.
Everybody's had a very good time. With that being said, I'd like to entertain a motion for the seeker for this.
I'll make a motion that we consider the preliminary and final single lot subdivision for Yu Chao Chen at 6992 Benedict Beach Road, an unlisted action under seeker.
Is there going to be a negative declaration?
And a negative declaration. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I did it.
Call votes, please, for seeker.
Linda Giroux? Yes. Steve Law?
Yep.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Schleider?
Yes.
Mark Bellerstein?
Yes.
James Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Pittman?
Yes.
Okay, the second part of the public hearing is the site plan issues. We discussed the issues of the sewer being provided. Okay. There's no work actually in the landward limit of structural hazard area, so it does not need a CF permit. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the site plan.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan for Yu Chao Chen at 6992 Benedict Beach Road. Application of Yu Chao Chen, owner Yu Chao Chen, seeking preliminary and final single lot subdivision approval for the property located at 6,992 Benedict Beach Road, tax account number 007.010-01-020. This is the SR zoning district, LWRP floodplain, CEHA, and the conservation overlay. We found that documents have been submitted for review, which is the revised site plan.
I'm sorry, that.
And the sewer,
Oh, we want to add in the requirement that
Requirement for sewer.
sewer to be in place before construction occurs.
Okay. Very good.
Pardon?
Second.
I did second.
Okay. All votes, please, sure.
Linda Giroux? Yes. Steve Law?
yeah,
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Schleider?
Yes.
Mark Bellerstein?
Yes.
James Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Pittman?
Yes.
Okay, this time I'll close a portion of the public hearing, or the public hearing for 6992 Benedict Beach Road. Well, good luck. Next public hearing is for a residential site plan approval and property split for common only months, 550 Chase Road. Anybody in the audience have comments, concerns, or anything they want to bring out at this time? Let the record show there was no comments from the public on this portion of the public hearing for the residential site plan the property split. Scott, any engineering concerns?
No engineering concerns, they've all been addressed.
Keith, we've seen this a couple times.
Yes, sir. I think it's unlisted under seeker. We use the phrasing property split. It's probably technically correct, better to call it a subdivision under our code. But I have no objections or concerns.
Cheryl?
I am no concern.
Linda?
No concern.
Steve?
No, they fixed the only concern I had.
Okay.
Well, the driveway is 15 foot, correct? Yep. Right.
Marshall's had a chance to look at it.
Good.
It's good.
What's that? What's that?
Fine.
Looks good.
Okay. With that being said, we're looking for two motions out there. For this site plan,
Secret.
Steve first.
Should also be on listed action.
Correct, then, a negative
Negative
declaration. Please don't
I'll make a motion for the application of Tom and Wendy Monks, owner Tom and Wendy Monks, for 550 Chase Road to be an unlisted negative declaration under secret.
I'll second that.
Linda Drew? Yes. Steve Law?
Yes.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Slider?
Yes.
Mark Fellers,
Yes.
James Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Hittner?
Yes.
Okay. We need another motion for site plan approval.
I'll make a motion for site plan approval for Tom and Wendy Monks, 550 Chase Road, seeking a property split of property located at 550 Chase Road, two parcels to be created, existing tax account 015-001-005.22. This is an RVL zoning district with minimum lot size of 2 acres. And then also the application approval for application of Tom and Wendy Monk owners seeking residential site plan approval for a new residential dwelling to be placed on proposed newly formed lot. Tax account to be determined. This is an RVL zoning district. Following documents have been submitted for review. Revised site plan.
Second.
Board votes, please.
Linda Drew? Yes. Steve Law?
Yes.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Slider?
Yes.
Mark Fellers,
Yes.
James Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Hittner?
Yes.
Okay.
Question. Should that have been done in two separate motions?
Don't have to, you can combine them, you can do them separately, okay, judgment call.
Okay. Well, fine.
Okay, at this time, I'm gonna close the public hearing process for 550 Chase Road. So if anybody wants to stick around after the public hearings, you're welcome to stay. If not, we're gonna get on with our agenda. Next agenda item is a conservation corridor development permit for Carmen Collini, 7956 Nuco Drive. Okay, somebody here supporting this application?
Good evening.
Okay.
How you doing?
I'm Carmen Cooney, this is my son Andrew.
Okay, if you would, you can put that up on the board and then stand on this side of the laptop so that we can get you in the picture.
All right. Well, we're proposing to install a seasonal boat ramp on the northeast side of the property, the shoreline. I guess we're here for a variance.
And you're here for conservation
Oh,
corridor
it's just
development.
conservation, okay,
Within 100 feet of the lake.
right, okay. Pretty much it.
They've received other variances.
Okay. Permitting. Is there anything we need from the DEC here?
Nope, we're all set. They have all their approvals or non-jurisdictional paperwork. Janine Clapp and I have been out to the site and reviewed the site. And we reported back to the zoning board and they were granted their variances. After the zoning board also reviewed the site.
So it's determined consistent.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Very good. Any questions from the staff? Scott?
The only thing we have is they should provide details of the seasonal portion of the dock, what's actually going to be going out into the water. It appears that they did provide them to the DEC. As he comments on the drawings, I just haven't seen them. You guys should just have a copy for your records. Maybe you possibly already do, I just haven't seen
You have, yes, been going on for a while, so yes, yes.
So you have it.
I have them and you have them.
Keith?
It's type 2. I have nothing further.
Cheryl? Linda?
No problem.
Steve Law?
No problem.
Dave Martin?
Looks good.
Steve Minton?
I'll go with it.
Jim?
No problem. I question, how are you gonna move it back and forth, see?
No, just, a portion of it. This is gonna be a permanent structure,
Yeah,
and then just the ramp into the water is gonna be seasonal, to remove that.
so you just form a ramp?
Yeah.
Okay.
No issues.
Okay. We require a sticker on this. And an approval.
You should classify it as type 2.
Who's gonna make that motion?
I'll make a motion then for, conservation corridor development permit, Carmen Panini, 7956 Newport Drive for, unlisted type 2 negative deck.
Second.
Linda Drew? Yes. Steve Law?
Yes.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Snyder?
Yes.
Mark Dellerstein?
Yes.
James Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Pittman?
Yes.
Okay. Motion for approval of the permit.
Motion for approval, for, Carmen Panini, owner Carmen Panini, conservation corridor development permit to install a seasonal dock within 100 feet of the lake. Setback variances have been granted, tax account 006.06-1-31. It's in an SR zoning district, LWRP. Following documents have been submitted for review: letter of intent, conservation corridor development permit application, site plan of the dock location, DEC letter of non-jurisdiction, and the LWRP is consistent.
I'll second.
Poll votes, please.
Linda Drew? Yes. Steve Law?
Yes.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Snyder?
Yep.
Mark Dellerstein?
Yes.
James Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Pittman?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Good luck.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Friday.
Yeah, okay, we'll be there.
Next item on the agenda is a special use permit for a single apartment and a single family dwelling for Karen Mahoney at 502 Neola Lane.
I do not see anyone here to represent.
Pardon me?
I do not see anyone here to represent.
Well, do we want to discuss it and hold it over for approval to another time? Or do we want to wait and discuss it?
Yes.
I would suggest we take it to the end.
Oh, okay.
We have one more to call before that.
Okay. All right. We're going to put that on hold for a few minutes.
Okay.
And the next item on the agenda, Virginia Trilson, 40 Ross Cove. We are now the town police here.
All right, good evening, everyone. Matt Hall from Schultz Associates Engineers and Land Surveyors. So this site plan, this loading lot was originally approved in 2019. Construction of the house and associated improvements were completed this summer. The plans received the CLO also. We're here to make the pond legal. So what we did with this We had our surveyors come out, locate the existing hole in the ground. They brought it back to the office. I designed a 15-foot safety bench and a small riprap outlet to control the quality of the outflow. And hitting those points should put us on track to make it legal.
Does the property naturally fall off to the northeast?
It does.
One of the other issues, because I'm very familiar with this that I saw, was that in building a house, putting it at the elevation, we needed some material for around, which would have been the south and east portion of the house, so that you'd have some positive drainage away from the structure. Okay, with that being said, Scott?
He addressed you gave all the revised plans as well.
I haven't because I just spoke to G
Okay.
this afternoon.
So one of our concerns was the water level shown was higher than the surrounding area. He's addressed that, he's given me a revised plan. So I'm good with that. That was really all we had.
Keith?
It's type 2. This is more of an engineering exercise. I have no concerns.
Sure.
It seems that the back lot line is correct. It is more than 40 feet away from the lot line. Everything else seems good that Schultz has added and measured. And it's 10 feet from the house and it's 40 feet from the lot lines.
How far is it from the house?
I think it's 10 feet. It's more than 10 feet from the house. I don't have that dimension on me.
The water line's approximately 60 feet from the house.
Thank you. Thank you.
Linda?
No. Concerned.
What did the level change to this one? And I noticed that it was 0.49. What did he change that to on the plans? We had
The plan that I have here, he calls the water level 253.35.
So on the initial plans that I submitted, I actually used the wrong number for the elevation.
you got 256.49 there. There is no concern.
How deep is the pond?
It's approximately 8 feet and it'll remain there with the
You're gonna
improvements.
put the safety bench, or you haven't got it in there yet?
Safety bench isn't physically there, but it's designed on the plans.
When would you be putting that in?
Soon as we get the approval to keep the pond.
Do you want an as-built?
Pardon?
Do you want an as-built drawing? Where they come back, they shoot the work, including the bench, and then they resubmit the plan, and certify it as built.
I don't know, is it necessary, or?
It's a control mechanism to make sure the work gets done to the plan.
Probably should have that in there, make sure you don't want somebody to get hurt.
Absolutely.
I'm sure Virginia doesn't want somebody going around and all of a sudden slip in, there's nothing to catch them.
Yeah.
I think it'd be best to have that in there.
Yep, I'll happily provide that when it's complete.
Okay.
I would propose that where the riprap outlet is, the structural water control on it, is have some kind of monumentation by that with an elevation on it, so whoever goes out and inspects it can recognize what the safety bench elevation is supposed to be.
Sure, we can set a benchmark.
Set a benchmark there.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the benchmark has to stay, because they're gonna take elevations anyways. So, they require a benchmark be left on the site, so that you can, of course, check the corresponding elevations. And your plan should show some elevation outlines.
Yep, I'll make more of the line work.
Yeah,
Just make it better.
To the northeast.
Sure.
How's that?
That sounds good.
Jim?
Yeah, I'm fine. The only thing that I thought of is, if we knew when the benchmark was gonna be constructed, code enforcement officer should be aware of that, so she can come down and take a look at it,
Absolutely.
you know, and so it's just a line of communication between the contractor.
Yep, and I'll make sure it's shown on the plans and the elevations noted.
I'll say that. Steve?
That's the thing. So I was trying to, the safety bench, is that normally submerged or is it on dry land?
It's normally submerged, and
So-
it will be with the
The
updated.
drawing is just not right then, right?
Right, yeah, the elevation's incorrect for the water level, so.
And if
It makes
it's
it look like the
15
safety
feet wide, at least according to this scale, it's not even close to 15 on this drawing.
It is on the updated plans.
Okay. All right, I'll wait to see that.
Yeah, let's,
Do you have it there?
plan?
Yeah,
Can you
yeah,
just
I do.
bring it over here for 2
Absolutely.
seconds? Because we don't have it.
So if the bench is normally submerged, is there still a 40-foot setback?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I have a question whether you're 256, we were here, you're 255, that's all flat land. If the discharge is at 253, that's gonna be 2 foot underwater, it's gonna be an inlet, not an outlet.
The discharge will be,
256.
yeah,
Overflow, okay.
Yeah, he's dropping the water over 253, so the outlet's like 3 feet higher.
3 feet higher, the outlet's 3 feet higher than the proposed water.
Yeah.
Level.
Proposed water level. Okay.
So all this flat land, the water, there's nothing to prevent the water from running in the outflow.
Well, it's gonna go around the house, you know?
Sit around the house, but nothing in the yard.
well, it is relatively flat, but the elevation does go down going to the northeast, so it does naturally drain that way.
Okay.
And how deep is the pond overall?
8 foot.
8 feet. It is 8 feet. Okay. Makes a little more sense. But you probably are not 40 feet away from the property line. If that 15-foot bench is submerged.
Right now, the water level is I think it's 56 feet from the property line, so, I mean, even as the grading gets pulled out and the bench gets installed, it'll still keep it well beyond that 40-foot setback.
Okay. I'll take your word.
I'll tell you what, now we have a member from this board is, when they're all done configuring it for the sand, go out with a plan and go out with Cheryl and, confirm it. Okay. So that being said, she wants to try putting that in a motion.
You said type 2, right?
Yes, sir. You got the new plan
It's right there. All right, so I'd like to make a motion that the application of Virginia Trulis and owner of Virginia Trulis and amending the site plan approval to include a pond in their rear yard be considered a type 2 under secret.
Second.
in, negative declaration.
They don't do it in type 2.
Linda Rule, yes. Steve Law,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Rich Slider,
Yes.
Mark Ballerstein,
Yes.
James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Steve Pittman.
Abstain.
Before you
Yeah,
finish,
you got some more? Yeah.
did you look up the whole 40-foot thing? Because to me, it looks like this bench is well within the 40-foot.
It just says here, to protect the safety and the property rights of adjacent landowners, Ponds will have a minimum setback of 40 feet from any property line to the edge of the pond. Ponds for control of runoff are allowable in any zoning district as part of a planning board approved site plan. Now, this pond was not runoff, it was just fill. Does it matter?
The bench is still part of the pond, isn't
Mhm.
Should be submerged.
It is. So generally, we make the setback, the water, the existing water level.
it? Right, the bench is underwater.
Correct.
Unless you shape that pond differently, I don't see what's there.
To me, it looks like, I mean, if you go by the other definition, that bench starts at 31 feet.
I'll double check, but we'll keep the bench within the 40-foot setback.
And how far does the pond have to be from the house?
We don't have any determination on that. This pond's are,
So if you needed to, you could shift it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like I said, right, the way this reads, and you look at that, it looks to me like the bench is gonna start at 31 feet right now, so.
I will double check it, and if we need to adjust, we'll adjust.
And there needs to be stipulation in the motion.
I'll make a motion now that for the amended site plan,
That's your copies.
keep it. For Virginia Trulison at 40 Ross Cove, application of Virginia Trulison, owner of Virginia Trulison, seeking amended site plan approval to include a pond in the rear yard that was dug for fill around the new dwelling and was not included in the original site plan. Tax account number 006.12-2-16.113. This is in the SR zoning district, LWRP. The following documents have been submitted for review: a letter of intent, amended site plan, short EAF, plus we want to stipulate in this approval that the 40-foot separation between the water surface and the adjoining property is maintained.
Second. Call the roll, please.
who seconded these, sir? Thank you, Jim. Linda DeRue? Yes. Steve Law?
Yes.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Schleider?
Yes.
Mark Vallerstein?
Yes.
James Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Hittner?
Same.
Curiosity question, is there anything that notate the property lines? You got a pin?
I don't believe pins have been set yet, but we'll do that as part of,
That needs a pin across from that pond on the separation of the two lots so it can be verified.
So the instrument survey hasn't been provided yet?
no, it's so far just the field work to complete the
So we'll
pond.
need that and
She just received her CFO today.
Yep.
It was good until 11:14, and the garage doors were in, and we knew the time was coming tonight, so she
yeah,
received the
no, that's
CFO.
good. That's good. Just so we have, something to benchmark. Okay. So, and she's good to go with the time.
If you want, when they're all set, sure, call me.
Mhm. We'll call Mark too, 3 of us can go out.
Sure.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, I'll do that.
Very very good with that.
Thanks, everyone.
There still is no show for 502 Leon Lane.
No, no.
The motion will hold us over to the next meeting.
I'll make a motion. Go ahead. Well, I'll make a motion then to hold it over to next meeting.
Second it.
Show of those, please.
Linda DeRue? Yes. Steve Law?
Yes.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
Chris Schleider?
Yes.
Mark Vallerstein?
Yes.
James Nesbitt?
Yes.
Steve Hittner? Thank you.
Okay, discussion, couple things. Received a letter, showing a correction to Borrego Solar's property line. That, oops, we were over the property line with the boundaries and setback. Scott, you know, MRB's received a copy of the amended, block configuration. They had to, pull down some panels too.
I think they
Yeah,
have shifted,
we had to
but
pull
the
some
drawing
panels
is,
back.
drawing doesn't
I
really
think what
show that.
happened was, the letter does not say this, but my opinion is that when the house next door sold the alpaca farm,
Right.
a site plan was done, and it was
Property
determined,
survey.
property survey map, and it was determined that the solar panels were on the property. So they had to pull it back.
I don't know if we've received it or not, but I know another month.
Well, we're still,
How much do you
before
receive?
they get a C or CFO, they still owe us a bunch of stuff. Okay. Number one, we're still in a lawsuit with them, or is it just the previous personnel assessor?
I don't know where that stands, to be honest with you. We were the last I knew. I don't know if it's been reconciled or not. Well, the last I heard it,
They gave us a figure of was it 9 million?
that's what I recall.
Pretty
Okay.
close to that.
But as Cheryl and I had a brief discussion before the meeting. Until the job is complete, you don't know how much money they've spent, so the yardstick is what they provided us with so that you can address a figure to assess the cost
Well,
of
there's
construction.
when I talked to Dan on it way back when, there was a third party that did the assessment. There's a whole formulation
Right,
involved.
they asked for that. Yes.
Right, which both parties agreed to. So, the last I knew, they didn't really have much to stand on. But I don't know if it's been, I don't know where it's at exactly.
So in order to vilify this whole thing is, we need to know what it costs the end result. And if the cost for redoing the array and the property lines, because their inability to provide a good instrument location map on their project, okay, should not be part of that. So that's making it a total reduction. But we need to have an honest figure. And to have that honest figure, we also have to have the deconstruction amount based on that. Okay? So if the estimated deconstruction amount is skewed because of the cost of what it actually did cost, time and materials, then the decommissioning plan will need to be augmented also, and that needs to be presented to you folks. In some kind of letter, or some other type of final financial instrument. So it's just by way of a discussion here. Keith, I don't know if you've got anything to add. Am I seeing it right?
I have nothing to add to that. I'm inclined to let the counsel who's handling the case handle the case.
You're a town attorney.
But there's some other things that we discussed here tonight that you folks should realize. That being said, Mr. Hittner took a course on solar online. Of course, probably very similar to the one that you took. Okay, and I don't know if you had some comments or you wanted to provide us with a report on that or something?
The biggest thing I got out of it was that the person who looking to lease their property to one of these companies has to really be responsible to do their due diligence. As far as decommissioning it, as far as any laws that might be needed to be done by, and that tax issues, what happens when they leave and back close again. And then there's so many issues that are involved here that you have to do the due diligence on it. And I wonder if going through the Helios fiasco that we went through, with them not doing, not doing their due diligence, here's the right information, and we needed it. And I felt that we seem to be looking out for the owner more than we should have. What's our responsibility as a board here? Is the responsibility to make sure that all the boxes are checked off and everything's been approved, or is our responsibility to be cops on us? I don't know. It's opened my eyes since something there when I told we went through trying to protect our neighbor. And how much that you've been unable to try to protect themselves. But they might be as common.
Along that lines, I was talking to a very knowledgeable electric inspector, who's been around a long time, and he told me some horror stories about a few systems where they were done, all processed and everything, and then they sold them to another party. And it created a huge problem.
Yeah.
And I hope you're going to be around when they do the service disconnect, the emergency disconnect test. Make sure they shut the arrays down and leave one up before they do it. Not the whole thing at once. Yeah, it will cause a huge problem if you try and drop it all at once.
Keith, in line with what Steve was talking about, we look at the lease documents and everything else, and we go by the protections that I sure to supposedly build in for municipalities, and we have to look at, but when they turn around and sell, which they do regularly, I mean, in a real world, we all know this, it's kind of like a mortgage. You get all hyped up about a finance and all of those stuff, next thing you know, it's some other bank or a trust company that owns your mortgage. How are they bound over the new owner leasing? How are they bound over to abide by the original decisions made by the town, either per the town law or per our code?
The vast majority of permits that the town grants relative to real estate are actually more granted to the land than they are granted to the people that own it. There are a few exceptions that apartment, that extra apartment they're adding on tonight's agenda, which we put over till next month. There's a provision in the code that says, well, that permit expires when the house is sold. But that's actually more an exception than anything. Just about everything else, it runs with the land as the answer. So if somebody buys it or leases it or however they manage it, they're stuck with the permits, its conditions, its benefits, its rights.
So do they necessarily then have to create a new document once they become the owner of that land, that they abide by it? Or does the court hold them to that standard that was already approved by another attorney, let's say, the town attorney?
I think they're stuck with it.
They're stuck with it.
Yes.
So we don't have to worry about, like Steve says, to be the policeman. Once that document, everything's been approved, as we went through documents and the lease arrangements that we went early on with some of these, we're still good.
Yes, in fact, it's rather like cell towers. Originally, when cell towers were being developed back in the 90s, the individual companies, Sprint and so on, they built the towers. And then what happened is they sold off the towers to companies like Crown Castle. And just about none of the major companies that built the towers owned them anymore. They didn't want them on their books. And so Crown Castle inherited, when they bought the lease, so in most cases it was a lease, they bought the lease and they bought all the permits that went with it.
I guess we beat that up a little bit, but thanks a lot for bringing that to light, because it is something that has bothered you since being new to the latest. And if I remember right, we had a brief discussion when you came back from your course about something very not dissimilar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's a good reminder, so good thing, a little bit of training always helps. Anybody else have anything from the town board?
On this, the regular properties.
Yeah.
I would like to see a better explanation. It looks like they just removed panels. They don't really show exactly where the property line is now believed to be. At least I don't see it on here. I see, I think, what the 100-foot setback was, and now there's a new line dashing in. They took some panels, I can't really tell.
And it also might have less panels.
Yeah, I think it looks like a series has been trimmed off. But how and why, did they put them anywhere else? I can't necessarily see that.
Well, I would like our engineering representative, like we talked about,
Yeah.
is to, MRB group to get an actual sheet that goes back with the packet for the town, you know, construction drawings, and if JPC, they can find out what's actually going on there. And it's, in a meeting in the future prior to the others, C of O, we can get a comfort level with what actually what happened. Okay?
This is all the information they would provide.
Right,
I had to
right.
pull teeth to get
I mean,
that.
I'm glad they went out and did it, came clean, okay, because it was like a hush-hush thing for a while.
It was quiet, because they asked how I found out about it. They go, how did you find out? Well, it's a small town,
Yeah, right.
you know?
Cheryl had her detective hat on, by the way.
I found
She is
another,
the cop.
So,
there's another little interesting tidbit in regards to some of the solar farms. They're using sheep to keep them level versus paying somebody to mow. They allow a farmer to come in with sheep
Yep.
and clean and keep the place nice and.
Nice and cut and clean, yeah.
and
We had that brought up to us, it was kind of a
That's
little
nice.
discussion.
But I think Virginia Truson's gonna do the same thing last month, the meeting. She said she's gonna have goats.
No, goats, they said goats will eat the wiring, sheep won't. That's what I heard. They've had a few goats.
Goats go a little too far. Coach says you can't have livestock with less than 5 acres. And she's got 2.7.
Well, there's a
2.1.
there's a whole nother thing that's gonna be coming up, that she's gonna want her shed. Okay,
Now, they were driving piling on site last Friday,
Yes. Yes,
so they've corrected their.
they did correct that error.
I also received a letter from Department of Planning and Development about this Hidden Pines section, lot 207, we discussed was. And they basically said that we should have notified the town of Clarkson because we were within 500 foot of the municipal boundary.
And they
The
went-
clerk of the board should provide written notice to the neighboring municipality in accordance with General Municipal Law 239. Now, if I keep starting getting these things a month late, there's gonna be a phone call between myself and planning. Okay? And number two, they ought to look at the history, and this subdivision was approved, I don't know how many years ago.
2002.
We have no business in letting them know anything about something that's already been approved, and all it was an amended site plan. Okay? I'm sure Stephen Olafson, the planner number two, just had to review it and send this letter out. But they obviously have somebody on staff that doesn't have a clue about subdivision law or planning. So I'm gonna discard these. You can throw them out of all the files until they can give us something in a timely manner and refer to the right law.
They're horribly behind right now, and so I'll tell you that, even for the new electronic submission.
Well, they don't even understand the law. They don't look anything up. They have the records. Okay? You know, and I'm not gonna sit by and listen to it and have them berate the town of Hamlin when they can't do their due diligence. So, that being said, that's my rant.
That's it.
feel better?
No. I'm a grumpy old man. No, that's right. Sometimes people have to learn by example, especially the ones that have to suffer. So, anybody else have anything you wanna discuss? Short meeting. Scott, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
We are looking for somebody, we've got an opening, on the zoning board, due to Jerry Hoffman's passing. So, taking applications until I think November 25th, I think. is the date.
Okay. Very good. In order to go home, folks, you gotta ask to be excused. Is there a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Usually the number one, I don't know. Thing is, the.
Sure you are. I'm seeing.
Yeah, we're good.
Friday.
Just start.
I know. Friday, though, I went out